Sydney Sweeney is getting a lot of attention. And not just from the avid readers and fans of Outkick World and other places, but from the president himself. Sydney Sweeney is a cultural and American phenomenon in this moment. Some of you, I think the guys, and a lot of the ladies, but the guys listening are familiar with her work, you could say. She is on billboards. She has been in some TV shows and movies. I haven't really seen anything she's in other than, what is that called? White Lotus. That's the only thing I think I've watched.
You didn't see anyone but you or whatever that show was called with Glenn Powell that was not an awful romantic comedy.
I did not see it, but perhaps I shall now, because we learned some very interesting things about Miss Sweeney over the course of the weekend. They have done a deep dive into her. Of course, they're trying to find out as much as they can in the hopes of trying to trash her brand now, because being blonde, blue-eyed, and having a buxom figure is something that the left-wing Democrats, I saw somebody, I think it was Clay maybe it was the Free Press, some analysis somebody wrote about how wokeness wasn't about expanding the concept of beauty beyond a very specific either background or, ethnicity, archetype, or whatever. It was actually about making beauty not a thing. You were not allowed to celebrate beauty. Like I said, because for all time, guys, one of the areas where there's actually a tremendous amount of inclusivity is men like beautiful women of all backgrounds, ethnicities, that is a common, overwhelmingly thing around the world.
I have argued for a long time, and I think it's actually somewhat. I take it as a positive. I don't think most men see race. I think they see hot or not. I think most heterosexual men,
yes,
by and large, are attracted to women of all different backgrounds. Biologically, kind of makes some sense, right? But I think most men, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, doesn't mean you might not have a preference. People might like blondes. They might like tall girls. There's all sorts of specifics. But yes,
in her heyday, I mean, you could find any number. Some people are big Salma Hayek fans. Some people are big Tyra Banks fans. But there's a general understanding that these are physically beautiful and gifted females.
And by the way, this is also important, and because they tried to say, hey, men are just being culturally told. Remember this argument? You're just being culturally told by Western civilization what you should find attractive. And this is something that you're being propagandized with. And then they actually studied men all around the world, and they found out men all around the world basically like the same things. And to a large extent, defending men here, to a large extent, it is a function of biology. That is, young, healthy women, blonde-haired women, for instance, hourglass figure.
Now we get scientist Clay. We get finance Clay. Now we have scientist Clay.
Look, I am fascinated by evolutionary biology because, by and large, biology doesn't fail. The reason why men are attracted to hourglass figures, this is 100% true, is because women with hourglass figures historically are more likely to have successful childbirth. Wide hips, all of this is 100% true, okay? I think you could probably think for breastfeeding purposes, larger breast babies healthy women tended to be able to handle breastfeeding and handle women, have handled childbirth better. All of this is biology. All of this is basic biology. Everybody wants to act like, oh, this is just something that you've been, that they've used
but that's the essential
advertising
point,
to convince you. Yes.
Is that the woke female ad thing, the changes that were being made, it wasn't let's expand so that there are more, because there have been, Clay and I grew up in the era, a lot of you know what I'm talking about, grew up in the era of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. There have been ladies of all different hair colors, ladies of all different skin colors. This has been the deal for a very long time. There's nothing new with any of that. But there are certain biological realities that they tended to share. I don't have to get into, it's a family show. I don't have to get into too much of the specifics here for the young ones who are listening. We all know what I'm talking about, or for the younger generation, they're aware of this as well. But Clay, there was an effort to make beauty a thing that we no longer were allowed to celebrate and appreciate. That's really what the left and the Democrats were doing. And I think anybody who's been paying attention to it has seen that. This is a moment where it is exposed. Now there's an anti-white agenda that is at work with the Sydney Sweeney controversy, such as it shouldn't be a controversy, but they've made it one. And then there's also the anti-general beauty agenda. Trump spoke out on this. So now the president's involved, everybody. This is why it's news. We're not just two guys sitting here talking about a lady who has a nice appearance. Trump spoke. Play cut 2 here about her American Eagle ad.
Sydney Sweeney came out this weekend that she was a registered Republican. Any thoughts on that?
That who was?
Sydney Sweeney. She's like a very hot actress right now.
She's a registered Republican?
Yes.
Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic.
There
Really
you go.
funny.
Blessed from the top from Trump himself. And I would just say, Clay, there's also video. It's funny. I was at the gun range this weekend. Not as exciting for the guys listening as Sydney Sweeney was also at the gun range at some point, and there's video of it. She's at the Tarrant, I believe, at the Tarrant Tactical Range out in California, which is where Keanu Reeves trains for the John Wick movies. Pretty well known. Tarrant himself is a well-known guy in the gun world, and she's moving around, hitting steel with a pistol, doing a nice job. So, Clay, we found out that Sydney Sweeney, attacked by the left, hated for being attractive, registered Republican in Florida, and likes guns, or at least is willing to go shooting and have video of herself taken. The heads are exploding all over the place. She's leaning into this, which is exactly the right move.
I love her balls. I said balls, figuratively speaking, because there's several things about this. First of all, she's 27 years old. She has as her primary residence the state of Florida. She bought a beach compound style estate. I remember reading about it when she bought it. And she went and registered to vote. And when she registered to vote in Florida, she registered as a Republican. And some people out there are going to say, well, whoop-de-doo, big deal. Let me ask you this. Can you name, I started off the show talking about this a little bit because I said we were going to get into this. Can you name a prominent 20-something in Hollywood that has come out unabashedly as a Republican? And let me just say, she didn't have, this is what you should want someone who's in her 20s or his 20s to do. You move to a new state. You actually care enough about how the nation is going that you go and register to vote in your new state. And as a part of the state of Florida, evidently, there's party registration. Some states don't have this. Some states do. And you, in order probably to vote in a primary, you would know this better than me because I'm not a Floridian. You can, I think, register as a Republican, Democrat, or Independent. There is party registration, in other words. Where I live in Tennessee, we do not have party registration. So you can walk in on primary day and just say, hey, I want to vote in the Democrat side or the Republican side. And in fact, sometimes people go and sometimes, as Rush has said with Project Chaos, sometimes people will vote in the opposite side because they know who their nominee is going to be. But I give her immense credit because she's smart. She had to know that at some point in time, somebody could look up her voter registration file. Easy thing to do, Buck, is just say, I'm not going to register. I'm an actress. I'm in Hollywood. It doesn't benefit me for people to know that I might be voting Trump. But instead, or DeSantis for that matter, instead she went and she registered as a Republican. And I just think it's fabulous. I think this is an important message. And for those of you out there who say, I don't care about what look, having people in their 20s who are being outspoken in any way about being Republicans, I think is important in the culture. Because I think it starts to create more space for others to also say, hey, we don't have to agree on everything. And by the way, I'm a Republican in what is a monolithic, in many ways, public Hollywood arena.
I also think that Democrats have realized that the position that wokeness was taking on this issue of female beauty was both untenable or rather was untenable, unpopular, and also dishonest. I used to see this, and you've seen this too, Clay. You would have women who themselves were very, physically, aesthetically pleasing, who will go around preaching about how, like the body positivity movement.
Yeah.
There wasn't that much of this, but you see a little bit of this. There's a hypocrisy involved in this because on the one hand, you have people that are telling you, beautiful at any size and these things that started to be said. On the other hand, the second that they want to get a role or they're trying to get in the best shape possible and they're trying to be as competitive in the dating and the mating market as possible, it's like women who tell other women this is always the thing. And you know what I'm going to say. Women who think that their fellow ladies are their friend, and they're like, yeah, all that long hair that you have that your husband or your husband loves, or your boyfriend, just chop it all off. They've actually done studies of this, and this behavior they believe is psychologically driven by female competitiveness over dating and mating. That it's if a woman views you as also attractive, for some reason, maybe it's subconscious, she's going to tell you, oh yeah, chop off all your hair. Because men never approve of this behavior. They're never like, you know what? Chop all your hair off. Go with the like Marine crew cut look for me, please. That's not actually appealing to men. And the same thing was true of body positivity, built on a lot of people lying about this. A lot of people saying, oh yeah, I think that people are beautiful. It's like, really? Because now you're taking Ozempic and you've lost 50 pounds. And you were pretending before, right? These influencers and these people. You'll see, Clay, people online who will freak out at anybody who says, men or women, who say that calories in, calories out matters. Like, this is just a delusion.
Yes, and I think it's all connected to trying to take away beauty.
Yeah,
and this is big picture. But I mean, I think you can look at the way that communist structures are often built, the modern style of architecture. It's ugly, right? If you walk around and you see classical architecture, Greek, Roman design, it's beautiful. It's majestic very often. It's not, I think you said last week, it's not a surprise that if you go look at the nudes of ancient Greece and ancient Rome, the bodies are very attractive, right? And I think that aspirational goal, look, I went today for my physical, and I had to stand. Have you stood on those body measurement devices where they, like, register your fat? And I was like, lower, like, you want to be in better shape. You want to be more physically, in shape. We've tried to make it
everybody should try to be the healthiest, strongest, best version of themselves. There's a whole other rant I can go on. And I know about this because I live in South Florida, of all these people that are influencers who are lying to you, and they're all taking steroids, including some of the women, by the way. They're all lying to you. That's a whole other conversation. The reality is everybody should seek, whether you're 25 or 85, be the healthiest, best, strongest version of yourself. And that's the goal that everyone, the same way you want to be the smartest and most well-read version of yourself.
I also think for the Sydney Sweeney angle, bringing it back home here, I think that we've seen a lot of young men move into the Republican camp. I think men have been leading that charge. They're less concerned with what others say about them. I think a lot of 20-something women and teenage women are desperately afraid of what people say about them on social media. So having someone brave like Sydney Sweeney who is saying, hey, I'm going to make the right choices as I see it, I think there are other young women that will see her and have a little bit more courage maybe to speak out than they otherwise would have.
We also have massive data sets now stretching over many, many years of what people actually like and what, including women, by the way, when it comes to men, what they find attractive. And all these people who tell you, I don't care, and they're all lying to you. Everybody has things that they find attractive. And that's
okay. Bald, short men. Ask bald, short men on dating apps.
I mean, I wasn't going to throw any bald short, but my bald short kings out there, we're here for you, all right? You find beautiful ladies.
But those guys know they have to work way harder because lots of women are eliminating them. Men like, by and large, hourglass figures.
They know what they like.
Pretty faces. Right. Right, but I mean,
explain
I
what
think
men
this
find
whole idea that we've been sold, which is a bill of goods, like, hey, be fat, men are going to love you. Not as much, sadly.
Yes. It's hard to believe, but home invasion happens all the time. You saw that Sydney Sweeney video, a lot of you, right? She's moving around well with that pistol, but some of you either already have firearms in the home and want to have a non-lethal option, or you're just more comfortable with non-lethal. And given the amount of home invasions that happen across the country, given the realities of having to possibly defend yourself, your family in your home, I want you to check out the products that Sabre has. Because if you're looking for non-lethal, so you have that force escalation possibility, Sabre is simply the best in the business. Their pepper sprays, pepper gels, and pepper projectile devices are all proudly made here in the USA. Non-lethal, but highly effective. Act now to protect yourself and your family. Save 15% on Sabre's mega bundle with extra projectiles, magazine, and practice targets. Visit Sabre. That's the spelling's really important. SABRE. SaberRadio.com. That website again is SaberRadio.com, or call this number 844-824-SAFE.